Wednesday morning and welcome to Korea Today, brought to you live from Seoul.
The two Koreas are to meet today to discuss details for reunions of families separated by the Korean War. Will Pyongyang agree to Seoul's proposed dates, or will the annual Korea-U.S. military exercises play a factor?
It's not something that you see every day. We have footage at the time of the recent oil spill off the coast of Yeosu coming up in the headlines.
And in business news, troubling trends in household debt. That story coming up on In Print.
And join me later for a closer look at Seoul's diverse libraries, where it's not just books that are on offer.
Old smartphones, laptops, and televisions get thrown out every day, creating a mound of electronic waste. We look at urban mining as a solution for this e-waste. If you want to whip out a wholesome snack for your kids or guests at home, we'll show you some easy-to-use snack makers for some healthy and cool treats. Live on this Wednesday, February 5th, 2014.
From Arirang News, this is Korea Today.
And a good Wednesday morning. You're joining us on Korea Today.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Working-level officials from the two Koreas will meet later this morning in hopes of agreeing to when and where families separated by the Korean War will meet for the highly anticipated and much-delayed family reunions.
That's right. A highly emotional issue here in Korea. Most of the separated members are in their 70s and 80s, hoping to see their long-lost relatives.
We'll go right to our Unification Ministry correspondent Hwang Sung-hee, who is standing by live with the latest. Good morning, Sung-hee. What can you tell us?
Good morning, Minjang. Good morning, Yang. In just about half an hour, South Korea's three-member delegation will depart for today's working-level talks, which will begin at around 10 a.m. Korea time at the North Korean side of the truce village of Panmunjom. Now, the two sides may have a long day ahead of them as they will be sorting out the details, such as the date and the location of the reunion. Now, earlier on, Seoul proposed that the reunions take place from February 17th to the 22nd at North Korea's Mount Kumgang Resort. Now, this comes after North Korea broke its week-long silence on Monday and proposed to meet for working-level talks on either Wednesday or Thursday at Seoul's convenience.
Now, Sung-hee, Seoul officials are racing against the clock as the proposed time frame is only about 2 weeks away, and they have some thorny issues to iron out with Pyongyang.
Now, that's the problem, Minjung. Officials in Seoul say that they need at least 2 weeks to physically get ready for the reunions. Now, that means sorting out the divided family members, like checking on their health conditions, as well as preparing the site of the reunion. But if you check the calendar, today is February 5th, and we have less than 2 weeks left until Seoul's proposed time frame of February 17th to the 22nd. Now, another issue is that North Korea will most likely want to push back the reunions so that it takes some time after the joint military drills between South Korea and the United States, which is scheduled to begin later this month. Seoul and Washington say the annual drills, which involves thousands of troops, are purely defensive in nature, but Pyongyang views them simply as a war game. Experts say the North could make a counter-proposal on the reunion dates that would have the event taking place after the Key Resolve and Full Eagle exercises, which end in April.
Sung-hee, the joint military drills always seems to be a factor there, but we've seen the erratic nature of the Kim Jong-un regime. What's to say that Pyongyang's not going to pull a stunt like they did last fall when they abruptly canceled reunions that were set for September?
Yes, Yang, that's a very difficult question to answer because, like you said, North Korea is one of the most unpredictable regimes in the world. But yes, we have seen North Korea break its promises many times before. And in fact, just last year, North Korea canceled at the very last minute a round of planned family reunions to the disappointment of hundreds of divided family members. Experts that I've talked to say that such a scenario is very likely this time around as well. Now, that is, if South Korea and the United States push ahead with their joint military drills. They say the North may call off the reunions and blame it on the South for sticking to its aggressive nature despite North Korea's willingness to improve relations. North Korean ambassador to the United Kingdom, Hyun Hak-bong, also said in a recent interview with the Financial Times that the reunions, quote, can't be held under a dangerous situation in which South Korea and the U.S. staged the joint military exercises. But Seoul has been maintaining a firm stance that humanitarian issues like the family reunions will be dealt separately with the military drills. So there is still a tug of war going on between the two Koreas, and we are still uncertain about North Korea's intentions. But one thing to keep in mind is that hundreds of thousands of divided families are waiting to reunite for the first time in more than 6 decades, and time is running out for these very elderly family members to see their loved ones again one last time. Guys.
All right, a lot of uncertainties, but we will certainly keep our fingers crossed for the families and for two Koreas to reach some sort of an agreement at today's meeting. Thank you, Sung-hee, for that.
Thank you very much. That was Arirang News Unification Ministry correspondent Hwang Sung-hee on Korea Today.
We'll get a check on the day's other headlines with Na Hyun-kyung.
And staying with the topic of North Korea, China's most comprehensive research organization under the State Council says Beijing should eliminate the misperception that China will never give up on North Korea. South Korea's local media outlets reported Tuesday that the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences, in a report released last month, said if Pyongyang continues with its provocative behavior, such as staging nuclear threats, Beijing may have to give up on the regime for the sake of peace and stability on the Korean peninsula. Experts outside of China say it is rare for a Chinese government agency to make that point public, given the past history and alliance it has with North Korea. Video footage at the time of the recent oil spill in waters off of the southwestern city of Yeosu has been released. You can see the Singapore-registered oil tanker crashing into the landing bridge, eventually damaging some of the pipelines there. An investigation into the exact cause of the accident is ongoing, but Coast Guard officials say the tanker was going faster than the recommended speed on approach. An estimated 160,000 liters of chemicals, including crude oil from the damaged pipes, leaked into the ocean. That is 200 times greater than the original estimates made by GS Caltex, the owner of the dock and the pipelines. The Oceans Ministry says GS Caltex should primarily compensate people affected by the spill, as the oil came from the pipes, not the tanker. It's been almost 20 days since Korea confirmed its first bird flu case in 3 years. So far, 2.8 million chickens and ducks have either been culled or await to be destroyed. It's certainly not the most in numbers yet, but given that it is equivalent to the number of birds destroyed over the span of 4 months back in 2006, officials worry it will become the nation's worst avian influenza outbreak. Another cause of concern is the cost involved and the lack of human resources as well as equipment.
Because the radius for culling is expanding, there are some difficulties in securing quarantine equipment and supplies. Also, it's difficult for officials to continuously be involved in the quarantine process on top of handling their everyday jobs.
The first case of avian flu was confirmed on January 17th in the country's southwestern province of Jeollabuk-do. Cases have also been confirmed on the outskirts of Seoul in Gyeonggi-do province, as well as Gyeongsang-nam-do in the country's southeast. Stocks in Seoul tumbled 1.7% to close below the 1900 mark on Tuesday, its lowest point in more than 5 months. Analysts say stocks on Wall Street plunging on Monday, coupled with continuing emerging market jitters, led foreign investors on Tuesday to sell a net 660 billion won, or roughly $610 million worth of shares listed on the Kospi. Japan's Nikkei also closed at its lowest level in 3 months, falling over 4%. U.S. markets closed just about an hour ago. Tuesday, New York time, the Dow Jones Industrial Average closed 0.5% up, with the S&P 500 also closing 0.8% higher. However, with weaker than expected economic indicators out of the U.S. and China, many analysts in Seoul are saying foreign capital outflow from Korean markets will likely continue for a while.
And good morning, everyone. Picking up right off of our last headline, recent drops in global economic activity is big news on our newspapers this morning as well. Let's kick it off with a look at the front page of Choson-ilbo first. The main headline reads, following tapering is triple shock, including U.S. and China's economic slowdown. Now, the subheadlines add that the two powerhouse economies both recorded slumps in their manufacturing indices last month, coupled with the anxiety we've been seeing in developing economies. The paper says this so-called triple shock is heightening the sense of uncertainty into this still relatively new year. Now, the included graph shows the indices I just mentioned, the U.S. and China's PMI, or Purchasing Managers Index, for January, and the blue shows the U.S.'s figures. You can see that steep fall from December all the way to January to record just above the 50 mark, which is the divider between an expansion and a contraction. Now, China in gray also has been falling since November to record 50.5, the lowest figure it has seen in 6 months. All right, scooting on over to Gyeongyang Shinmun next. It has a special series story as its top, along with a shot of Janet Yellen swearing in as she became the first woman to head the U.S. Central Bank in its 100-year history. Her husband, Nobel Prize-winning economist George Akerlof, also standing proudly behind her. Meanwhile, we'll go ahead and take a look at the headline underneath it, and it reads, Kospi tumbles 54 points in 2 days. Hits 1,880 mark first time in 5 months. A story, of course, you just heard in our headlines. Not only the Korean benchmark, but Asian markets as a whole showed weakening. European markets also fell, although at a smaller margin within the 1% range. And we'll have those closing numbers for you shortly. But before we do, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the other domestic issues that the papers are covering this morning. Next up is Donga-ilbo. We'll go ahead and take a look at the front page image. It's keeping the oil spill in the waters off of Yeosu in its mind's eye, as the image title reads, volunteers wipe off Yeosu's tears in frigid temperatures. Showing there some of the hundreds of volunteers, rubber gloves in hand, wiping off the rocks and gravel, though the caption says it isn't clear whether the shoreline will be able to recover fully after that massive 164 tons of crude oil that was spilled into the sea. All right, scooting on over to Jungang-ilbo next, we'll go ahead and take a look at this story down here. The headline reads, President Park Geun-hye says stern punishment awaits civil servants who break neutrality in regional elections. The president made the remarks during a cabinet meeting yesterday, during which she noted that this year's local elections are the first elections to be held under her government, and that they will have to be fair and clean. The remarks also came soon after registration began for preliminary candidates for the June polls that will elect mayors, governors, and other regional leaders. She said that political neutrality will be required of not only state organizations, but also civil servant groups and the individual. And finally, we'll wrap things up with a look at the front page of Made Business newspaper. Its headline reads, 1 million in middle class shrink to lower class status in their credit. The subheadlines warn that 5 years after the financial crisis of 2008, 1 out of 4 mid-credit range borrowers in Korea have been labeled as persons with bad credit. And the household debt trap appears to be deepening as the these people with bad credit have been found to spend nearly 85% of their income to pay off their debts, which is 6 times more than the 14% that it was before the financial crisis. Also concerning is that the demographic that made up most of these poor credit holders were people in their 20s who made up almost 28%, likely due to the challenge in nabbing jobs to pay for their college debt. And with that, we'll wrap your look at what's in print on this Wednesday and turn to your closing numbers from Tuesday's market action.
Time now to get a check on the weather. It was
time to say cold.
Pretty cold on the way to work this morning.
Yeah, people that are commuting by automobile, it might not be that big of a problem, but if you're on those buses and heading out to those subways, it's going to be a cold one. For more on the weather, we'll go to Lee Da-mi. Good morning,
Good
Da-mi.
morning.
Good morning, everyone. Today I'm reporting live from Guro-gu, Seoul. Now, the frigid weather conditions are continuing into this Wednesday morning. There still are cold wave alerts and advisories being issued in most parts of the peninsula. However, here in the nation's capital, we are under dry air advisories, so please be extra careful when handling fires. Now, this morning, the temperature right now is freezing minus 8.2 degrees Celsius. The Weather Center is expecting the conditions to grow mild starting tomorrow afternoon, and we are expecting some rain and snow over the weekend. Now, overall, today is going to be another very cold day, so make sure to bundle up this morning. And with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the numbers around the peninsula. Seoul's highs are at -1, Daejeon and Gangneung at 1, Daegu and Gwangju at 2, Busan and Jeju at 4 degrees. That's all I have for the weather forecast. I'll be back in the latter half.
Homemade snacks are the best treats, but if you're running out of ideas on healthy and yummy munchies, we have some snack machines that can lend you a helping hand. From a device that air fries food to a slush-making machine, Angela Park shows us more.
With the rapid tech developments, consumers buy new products to replace their old ones. So out with the old and in with the new. But just what happens to the old after it gets thrown out?
That keeps you up at night, doesn't it, that question? Hopefully, we have a report that will hopefully answer that question. Now, the term electronic waste refers to discarded mobile devices, televisions, air conditioners, the list goes on. Now, there's a new method of reusing e-waste as renewable resources. We went to check it out.
Electronics have become an essential part of our everyday lives, making it almost impossible for us to function without them. With more advanced products spilling out, these devices are getting swapped out at a rapid rate. E-waste is increasing globally, and Korea is no exception. According to Korea's Ministry of Environment, the annual turnover rate of mobile phones is 67.8%, one of the highest in the world. The amount of e-waste in 1992 was 14 million tons. In just 20 years, that number more than tripled to 54 million tons in 2012. E-waste is so rich in resources that it's dubbed an urban mine. So what can we do with it? SR Center is a social enterprise that gathers e-waste from collection boxes at public housing or apartment complexes and makes a profit by sorting the many items and selling them. While sorting the goods, they gather resources such as metals, plastics, and other materials.
Here we disassemble phones and sort out different parts like plastics, circuit boards, and wire.
After the initial selection, what can't be recycled is disposed, and depending on the material, parts are either recycled or sold to secondhand markets. Through this process, around 80% of e-waste can be reused.
At SR Center, we recycle an average of 2,000 tons of electronic waste thrown out by ordinary households and companies every year.
The recycling of electronics has increased every year, but so has the amount of e-waste. Because of this, the rate of recycling is only at 20%. That amount is still worth roughly $92 million US, so finding a more efficient recycling process is crucial. The rediscovery of e-waste does not end here. Did you know the thin yellow film on the printed circuit boards is made of gold? Here, they extract gold from e-waste. With 1 ton of gold ore, you get 7.4 grams of gold, but with 1 ton of mobile phones, you get 340 grams of gold. Urban mining is far more valuable than you would imagine. To extract gold, the most common method is to use chemicals to melt the gold. Once the metal dissolves, it goes through various settling processes for purification before the gold can be extracted. This process is used to recover gold, silver, bronze, and other precious metals.
Each month, we work on about 10 tons of discarded mobile phones. Since Korea lacks resources, we take pride in extracting precious metals from trash and renewing it into valuable resources for our society.
We visited a research center that uses an automatic selection system for discarded television displays. Through research, they have increased the recovery rate to 95% from the current 80 to 90%. If you disassemble and separate TV displays, they are largely divided into 4 modules: the case, the glass panels, the printed circuit boards, and the backlight unit. Previously, you could only extract gold or copper from the printed circuit board, but now recycling is more efficient since reusable resources such as tantalum and silver can also be extracted. This is especially useful when recycling the backlight unit because you can extract rare earth metals which Korea lacks. So in the end, it helps reduce the amount imported.
This system was first developed in Korea, and so with this technology, Korea plans to increase competitiveness in the global recycling market.
The number of display panels thrown out will increase in the next 10 years to 11.2 million by 2025, so the economic value of recovering resources will increase. Recovered resources are reused as raw materials for parts manufacturing, and this means Korea no longer has to depend mostly on imports. E-waste is easily thrown out, but its economic value goes beyond our imagination. These reusable electronic goods can be a good solution to Korea's lack of natural resources.
Would have thought there was so much hidden resources in our e-waste. Gold mining from our cell phones, that's really something else. And it's good news that we're making good usage out of our e-waste, as there is a lot of environmental damage and health hazards involved in recycling e-waste.
Yes, for example, popularly traded secondhand items such as refrigerators, they can accidentally emit freon. Now, the gas freon, even 10-year-old refrigerators can emit about 100 grams of it, which is powerful enough to destroy several football fields the size of the ozone layer.
I mean, companies in Korea are obliged to fulfill their extended producer responsibility, but on an individual level, I mean, we have to be more conscious about recycling e-waste, but it's always easier said than done, right?
Yes, yes. Just paying a little bit of attention on some of these items that you do throw out can really mean a lot for the environment. Also open up doors for different businesses that do recycle these used or secondhand goods.
That's right. Throwing away unused electronic gadgets may seem harmless, but it will certainly come back and haunt us and the environment as well as our health. So be a little more, I guess, thoughtful and sensible when it comes to doing that.
Now
Right?
I feel guilty about having 2 unused cell phones lying in my room.
Well, give it to me. I'll melt the gold out
Yes,
of it.
I should dig for gold in those cell phones.
Well, still ahead on Korea today, we're going to check out some libraries in Seoul where you can not only read some great books, but also browse through some old comic book collections and even cook some snacks. Peter Bint takes you to some unique reading spots in the mega capital, so don't go away.
If you're a master chef and you know your way around the kitchen, then baking some bread or frying some chicken wings, that'll be a cinch, right? But if you're not, if you're like me or Angela Park, then you might find some of these appliances helpful. I'm just kidding. I know you're a great cook. Good morning, Angela.
You don't know that, but don't assume I'm a bad one either. Good morning. We're here to talk about some products that, like Young said, not only does it kind of simplify the cooking and snack making process, because these days a lot of mothers, they want to be more hands-on, create stuff within their home so they know what goes into the food, and so it's healthier, it's better for the children and for people in general, but it's easy.
Home cooking, you know what's going in there, as you mentioned. No MSG, I mean very low sodium.
That's right.
You know exactly what you're doing. So let's first look at this little gadget over here.
Yes, now I'm sure you've seen a lot of bread makers, right, that you can use in your home, but this from Lee Home Kuchen is kind of unique in the sense that it's very specific to what we in Korea need, because it can also make rice bread. So all you have to do is you pour it into the bin right here, like so.
I'm just surprised that you're using rice and mixing it with flour to make bread.
So then we do add a little bit of flour, salt, sugar. There's some dry yeast in there as well, and I don't even need to really mix it. There we go. Then we're gonna add some skim milk, right? And some butter. I hope this falls off.
That's a lot of butter. I never knew that much butter goes in there. But okay, so basically you have the batter ready for your dough.
Right.
And then you need to mix it or something, or what do you have to do?
No mixing required. You just pop it in like this. Shut the lid. Now, there's a lot of different functions. There's the pizza cake, there's making of the dough, there's even fermentation options, but we're gonna go with the bread option right there. Push that. Now, there's a list of many different types of bread you can make. We're gonna go with number 4, which is the rice bread.
Okay.
Then we start. You hear it?
I can hear it.
It's starting to mix the dough. It's starting with the bread making process. Now, obviously, this isn't going to take place in a matter of seconds. So for the sake of our show, we baked some rice bread before so we can show our viewers.
Kneading the dough is the most difficult part, but it just does everything for you. You can't go wrong with this. And it's fresh bread, and it comes out just like this. Well, this actually has been baked a little while ago, so I'm going to tear a little piece of that and
check out the insides.
Look, there it is.
It's amazing because it's made with rice. It's pretty good?
Yeah, this is really good. I like it.
Okay. Well, that is our bread making. That doesn't look too pretty. We're going to move on now. Okay, this is called the Pasak air fryer from Han Corporation. Now, Pasak in Korean, of course, means like really crispy, right? The thing that's great about the Pasak air fryer, it's exactly that. It uses air to, fry your food, and thus it uses the natural oils in the food. You don't need to add anything extra.
So no oils, just air, and it's going to fry your food. So it's kind of like baking your food, right?
Sort of. It uses what's called rapid air technology, and basically in this airtight container, when you put your food in and then you seal it airtight, there's air that's being hot air, reaches up to 200 degrees Celsius, but it's being pumped in, it's being pumped out at a very rapid pace, and it's cooking your food from top to bottom very evenly, thus achieving a very fried texture. Now, we had cooked this beforehand, but let me show you the process just to see how easy it is.
Right,
now, if you take that out, Young, I'm going to ask you to push that button, lift it up.
Oh, okay, so there's a little thing that goes in there.
Yeah, that's the mixer,
and
right?
And then this actually goes around and makes sure that you're getting all the corners?
This is actually the only air fryer that comes with such a device that makes sure the food is being very evenly cooked and mixed. But this is the bin, right? So can I put the chicken in?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to put the chicken in here. And then if you can put it back into the case.
Look at that.
It's all raw chicken, right? Spiced up a little bit, however you like it seasoned. And then you pop it back into
I'm doing this because if it's easy enough for me to do it, then anyone can really do it. I'm really terrible around the kitchen.
And then you pop in the mixer. The mixer is great. It's not as necessary for the chicken, but for some other foods that require even cooking distribution, the mixer is perfect for that. So then you pop it into the slot like so. And then I'm going to set the dial to 200 degrees Celsius.
So all the instructions are included with this appliance on how long and what temperature you should cook it at.
And then actually 20 minutes should be more than enough. So I'm going to set that there. And now it started the cooking process.
Okay, well, so if you were to wait 20 minutes, then you do get something like this. You can, as you can see over here, let me try this and see if this is actually working for me.
Okay. See if it's good. You have to acknowledge my cooking abilities. Moist?
I'm not. Are you sure you cooked this?
No, I can't take credit for that.
Okay.
Now, if you turn your attention to the left, this is the Seoul bingo, and it's basically a sub-cooler. It keeps all your beverages below freezing, but if you look at it, it's not frozen. So it uses kind of the same concept, essentially the same concept behind snow. You know how snow, it's still liquids in the clouds maintained well until it's the wind and other weather factors that agitate it, and then when it falls, it becomes more crystallized like snow, right?
So what is this, a fancy refrigerator that's going to keep my beverages right around the freezing temperature?
Exactly, and then when you pour it, it becomes slush. So let's let the sub-cooler drinks do the talking. You can pick a beverage of your choice. I know you're thirsty.
Let me experiment with the water here.
Okay, great.
Just get a couple bottles of water, and then what are you supposed to do with this?
Okay, so take one and just agitate it. Hit the bottom really hard. There we go. Ooh, that was good. So,
oh wow, this is amazing.
This one actually solidified really well. I do want to kind of, preface all of this by saying that for the sake of the show, we put the freezer, the sub-cooler in. You need a good 2 hours. We're a little bit shy of the 2 hour mark.
Wow, it's working fine.
But this one seems to work great.
Let's try it one more time. Okay, that's enough.
I think you need your hand. There we go.
All right, there.
And so then it starts to solidify. And you can see, our viewers hopefully can see that almost instantaneously, it's becoming icy and slushy.
I really like this drink.
Okay, there we go. So if you do the same thing, you can have fun again. And then pour it right away. There we go. And then it's slushy. So this is great for, well, this kind of looks like a cocktail, right? But this is also great for children because, like, think about milk. It works not only for glass bottles, but aluminum, paper, whatever it is, like milk cartons. You pour out the milk, it becomes kind of like a slushy smoothie shake.
And then we'll have you have one of these.
Thank you.
Okay, so we looked at one item that helps you knead dough as well as ferment the dough and also bake it as well. And you can use a lot of the leftover foods that you have, especially if you have leftover rice, and add it onto that. And also a fryer that doesn't use any oil.
It's great, right?
How good is that? And it tastes great. And this wonderful sub-cooling, I don't know what you call it, but it's great. Thank you very much for these three items.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers. Look at that.
It's good. It's refreshing.
Have the margaritas at home.
And a good Wednesday morning to you all as we kick things off with the latest in Sochi Winter Olympics. Now, with the Winter Games just a few days away now, it looks like Sochi isn't ready yet. With $51 billion being spent on the Olympics, turns out many of the housing facilities and hotels aren't complete, even with the Winter Games, just like I said, it's a few days away. According to several sources, many of the hotels that need to accommodate the visitors from around the world are still under construction, and housing facilities for the media are unfinished as well. And shifting over to golf, where Golf Digest named the top 100 greatest modern-day golfers. With all the top golfers since 1980 being named in the list, Tiger Woods topped the list as the greatest modern-day golfer, followed by the Shark Greg Norman, being listed number 2 on the list. Meanwhile, for South Korea's very own Chae-kyung-ju, a.k.a. KJ Choi, he was listed at number 70, becoming the highest-ranked Asian golfer on the list. And over to domestic football, where the 2014 K-League Classic schedule was released on Tuesday. The league will kick off on March 8th with the defending champions Pohang Steelers facing off against Ulsan Hyundai Tigers, as 12 teams will play 38 matches each for a total of 228 matches. And with that, turning things over to Tuesday night's KBL action as the Seoul Samsung Thunders took on the Incheon Itilan Elephants. Now, the first half of the game, Incheon jumps all over Samsung with Cha Ba-wi and Chung Jae-hong, each putting up 10 points in the first half, as Incheon takes a huge 45-26 lead going into halftime. And even with Samsung's Lee Dong-jun putting up game-high 15 points in the game, Incheon never looks back in this game as they absolutely crushed the Thunders 91-58. And finishing things off in V-League, where Hyundai Hillstate dominated Daejeon KGC in straight sets 3-0. Meanwhile, with Samsung Hwaja Blue Fangs taking on the KEPCO Vic Storm, let's take a look at the highlights. Now, KEPCO playing a very scrappy game from the start here, take the first set 31-29. And with Leo Martinez stepping up for the Blue Fangs with 44 points on the night, defending champions sweep the next 3 sets as they cruise through the rest of the way, 3-1. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Wow, that's some action-packed skiing and snowboarding there, some jam-packed stunt moves there. But it looks like the weather is now permitting a little bit of the snowboarding and winter sports activities, right? But we're going to go to Idami, not for that, but for a little bit on finding things.
That's right. She joins us from a lost and found center. I wonder what she has lost.
All right, we'll go to
All right,
Idami.
let's go back to her right now. Back to Idami.
All right, so I'm back reporting live from Guro Station, where you can find a lost and found center. So there are many times when people lose their belongings on the subways. I myself am guilty as charged. And here at the Lost and Found Center, just like the name implies, what they do is they store the belongings that the passengers have lost on the subways, and they keep it here so that the owners can find it. Now, for the past 4 years, the number of lost property has been on the rise. And last year, they said that they held an all-time record of 112,000 cases. So on a daily basis, there are about, 300 types of objects that are left on the subways. And even if we calculated it as subways running 24 hours a day, which they don't here in Korea, that still means that there are more than 12 lost properties every hour. Now, right now, we're at the storage where you can find, see some of the objects that you can find here at Guro Station. From bags, where we have more bags, and just mobile. Also here we have some mobile phones, personal belongings, wallets, watches, and many more. But they say that out of all of the objects, the bag is the most, and it takes up about the bag is the most. It takes up about 23.1% of all the items. Now, last year, there were more than 25,000 lost bags, which is a lot of bags. To tell you the truth, the majority of all of these objects that I see here, I think they're all bags. Next up on the list of missing things, well, it comes to mobile phones, notebook, laptops, basically electronic devices that came in second. And then we have wallets and clothing, which come in third and fourth. Now, there are a total of 14 of these lost and found centers here in Seoul. And if you ever lose an item on the subway, well, they say it always helps to keep track of the number of the train that you were on, also the time that you got off, and of course the station that you got off as well. You can either go to your nearest lost and found center or call the Tasan call center at 120 for help. But let's say you lost an item, but it's been a while since you've lost it, then you can always go to the Seoul Metro website where they have a lost and found category, a section, and they give you information, provide you information with how and where you can go to acquire that item. They actually have organized it very well, putting up pictures as well. So these items here, what we're seeing, have been around for about 1 to 2 months. Basically, after that, what they do is they give it out over to the police station to handle that as well. So the next time you lose an item, always check the Lost and Found Center, because who knows, it could be here. That's all I have for now. I'm Idami, Korea Today.
So today we're going to tour around some libraries in Seoul. Now, before you change the channel, these are not some ordinary libraries. These are ones with unique themes. And Peter Bint joins us for this story. I'm sure you look like the type who's frequented libraries as a
Peter,
kid.
I'm falling
Is that
asleep
a compliment
already.
or a bookworm?
Are you calling me a bookworm?
Yes.
Is that
Yes,
what you're
I
saying?
am.
I haven't been to a library, not a normal library, for ages, but the ones we're going to talk about today, like you said, they're very interesting, they're very different and diverse. And it's because the Seoul city government, they made this initiative to create 99 extra libraries by 2015 in the capital. So many have already been established with lots of diverse characteristics. It's not just books. You can watch movies, take part in various activities, and just have a good time with local residents. It's not about being quiet and silent at all. So we're going to take a look at these amusing libraries, which are already catering for needs of local neighbourhoods. Let's take a closer look at these popular reading spots. This is a hanok located in Seoul's Guro-gu district. It's the first hanok library established following the architecture of Confucian academies, Seowons from the Joseon dynasty. As a children's library with school vacations in full swing, many children have been visiting. But unlike other libraries, you're expected to sit on the floor, so you get to take off your shoes and enjoy reading.
There's outdoor flooring in the hanok, so I really enjoy reading books in a warm atmosphere, even in the winter.
Unlike conventional libraries filled with desks and chairs, this place makes visitors feel comfortable, just like they're at home. The library consists of 2 connecting hanoks, so you can wander around freely.
Beautiful library, that's for sure.
It does not look like one.
And this is a separate building called Seoul. And every Saturday they offer various traditional cultural activities. Today they have a hanshik cooking class.
Oh, so you weren't kidding when you said it's not about reading.
No, not a normal library. So from making the stuffing for mandus or dumplings to moulding them, these children have become professionals in no time. It's a great opportunity for children who are used to fast food these days to familiarize themselves with Korean traditional dishes.
Oh, and they get to make it too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Steam it and eat it.
Experiencing traditional culture and reading books in a hanok is a great learning opportunity for kids.
They're good, too.
Not only can you read, but you can experience various things, so it's fun.
Recently, around Seoul, many small libraries have become popular with local residents because not only can you borrow books, you can also use the space for various events such as concerts. Located in Pangwa-samdong, Gangso-gu, the Pangarina Small Library is run by the local residents.
Interesting name.
It's a Korean word, actually.
And moving beyond the simple business of lending books, with the support of Seoul city government and locals alike, this library has turned into an area for rest and mingling.
It's a great gathering place for residents. Books donated by local residents are on display, so you have the advantage of getting access to various books.
Not only are there books donated by local residents, there are honorary librarian certificates for those who complete education courses. So the place has become a library truly run by the hands of locals.
I'd always wanted to become a librarian.
Unlike other libraries, I come here often because it's warm and comfortable. There's also a cafe, so I can study while enjoying a cup of tea.
There's also a place full of comics on Namsan Mountain. Here you get the chance to see over 10,000 comic books in one place.
Comic books, huh? Look at that kid.
And this library carries a variety of foreign and local comics that will satisfy male and female readers alike.
These kids, they zip through these books. Exactly. Like one book every 30 minutes or so.
It's so good, though.
There are many types of comic books, and I really like that you can read all of them for free.
I enjoy seeing the old comic books I read when I was young because it brings back old memories.
In the exhibition hall, they show the history of Korean comics from the 70s to the 21st century for visitors of all ages. Also, for people with weak eyesight or the elderly, they offer magnifiers to help them enjoy reading their favorite comic books.
Oh, wow.
On the second floor, where the exhibition hall is located, you can watch animated videos of certain comics. And thanks to this mini theatre, the place is even more popular because children can watch cartoons on DVDs on the spot.
It's like a dream come true for them.
I really enjoy reading comic books in these plush chairs, and it's fun to read all that I want.
Seoul's libraries offer a relaxing space where you can curl up and read or experience something new. So how about visiting one of these special spots to enjoy some quality time?
You know, Peter, I remember the days when libraries had card catalogs, right? But they've changed quite a bit since then.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm too young for that. Yeah.
I know what you mean.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And boo on you. All right. Now, more than reading books, there's a lot of traditional experiences as well, as we saw, and cultural activities that you can partake in. What other types of programs are there for children and also everyone alike?
Yeah, well, there is one specifically tailored to elementary school children, and they can experience traditional culture every single Saturday. And what they can do is do traditional games or also cook hanshik like we saw in the video, and willing participants can sign up at the library. So for more info, visit the website. It's lib.guro.go.kr.
There's an activity called mandu doll making.
Mandu
doll making.
Do you Stephen eat that too?
Interesting.
I suppose.
I mean, it's not only providing services, but it looks like they are bringing the local community together. I was really impressed.
Absolutely, yeah. You saw the library there, the Doran Library, and that's located in Gayangdong in Gangseogu. And the local residents, they become certified librarians themselves and read children's books to the children themselves, so the stories really come alive. And in Changdong in Tobonggu, an old public transportation bus was transformed into a mobile library with a funny name called the Boom Boom Library, which was actually suggested by a local resident. So it's all about community and the ease of access for kids and adults alike.
I like the name.
Doran,
Boom, boom.
right?
I like
So
boom,
boom,
boom.
boom, right?
boom,
So
like
if I
boom,
go to
boom,
these
yeah.
libraries, I can become a librarian that I so wanted to become one day, huh?
Fulfill your dreams, yes.
So move to
We need you
Tobonggu
on
or
the show.
Gangseogu.
We need you on the show, so we're going to have to put that librarian
Well, she can
dream off
do
for the future.
two jobs.
Okay, librarian by day, and by morning I'll be this
News anchor by morning, right?
Sounds good.
Thank you, Peter, for
Thanks
this
a lot.
story.
Thanks a lot. Okay, now we're going to go back over to Idami for a last-minute check on the weather. Today's highs are not expected to exceed 0 degrees.
That's right. It's going to be freezing. Over to you, Dami.
That's right, Young and Minjung. Today our highs are going to be below 0 here in Seoul at -1. Currently, right now, the temperatures this morning are at -8 degrees Celsius. As you can see, I don't know if you can see the people passing behind me. Everyone's bundled up from head to toe. That is a very good idea for today because it's going to be very cold. Now, there are very strong, sharp gale winds that are blowing our way as well. So our body temperatures are going to dip down to as low as -12 degrees. Try not to catch a cold in these days. Oh, and do keep in mind that the air is still quite dry here in Seoul. In some parts of Gyeonggi Province, there are dry air advisories that are being issued. So please be cautious when handling fires. And of course, keep yourselves moisturized as well. That's all I have for the weather updates. Keep yourselves warm and stay there until tomorrow afternoon. It's going to get a little warmer. That's all I have for now. I'm Idami, Korea Today. All right, here in Seoul, highs are at -1, Daejeon and Gangneung at 1, Daegu and Gwangju at 2, Busan and Jeju Island at 4 degrees Celsius. That's all I have for the weather forecast.
So sub-zero temperatures all day long, but hopefully things are a little warmer over in Panmunjom, where the inter-Korean talks, working level talks, will take place in hopes of making a date, and also the wear on the family reunions that will hopefully take place this time around.
That's right, that's right. It was canceled last fall when it was scheduled for September, but it was abruptly canceled. We are hoping that it does go through this time without any abrupt cancellations.
Many eyes on that meeting, and also many families who are just dying desperately waiting to see their loved ones in North Korea. So hopefully this time the officials from the two Koreas will finally set a date and agree.
Will it be February 17th or not? That is the question. Maybe. Hopefully it will be decided today, sometime today.
Okay, well, we will keep you updated throughout the day on Arirang News on what the situation entails through these meetings today. And that's all we have for you on this edition of Korea Today.
That's right. Thank you very much for watching. And please do join us again for more tomorrow on Thursday.
Goodbye.